In July of 1994, the tranquil town of Bonito, nestled in the heart of Brazil's Mato Grosso do Sul, became the stage for one of the most baffling cases in the country's criminal history. Mariana Oliveira Santos, a 28-year-old tourism specialist from Sao Paulo, vanished without a trace while on an expedition along the Blue Grotto Trail, one of the region's most celebrated natural attractions. The day began under a clear sky, with a mild temperature of 20 degrees Celsius, perfect conditions for outdoor activities. Mariana had arrived in Bonito 3 days prior, staying at the Recanto das Araras Inn. An expert in ecotourism, she was conducting field research for her master's thesis at the University of Sao Paulo, studying the region's burgeoning potential as a national ecological destination. According to the Ecological Park's visitor log, Mariana began the hike at 8:17 in the morning. She was part of a group of 7 other tourists, led by the official guide, 42-year-old Carlos Mendonça. The Blue Grotto Trail, a 4.7-kilometer path of moderate difficulty, typically took about 5 hours to complete, including stops for rest and photography. Testimonies gathered in the first 48 hours after her disappearance stated that the group paused for a break at 10:30 a.m. near a crystal-clear stream about 2.3 kilometers from the trailhead. It was during this stop that Mariana mentioned to the guide her desire to photograph a peculiar rock formation located roughly 150 meters from their resting spot. Carlos claimed he advised her to wait for the group, but witnesses recalled her insisting, assuring them she would be quick and was familiar with similar trails. She seemed confident, showed us her map and compass and said it was just a short distance. She promised to be back in 15 minutes tops, recounted Fernanda Barros, one of the tourists present that day. The guide eventually relented but asked that she not venture beyond the rock formation and to remain within sight. When the group resumed their hike around 10:50 a.m., Mariana had not returned. Initially, Carlos and 2 volunteers went in the direction she had taken, calling out her name, but received no answer. By 11:25 a.m., the guide decided to split the group. He and 3 tourists would stay behind to search, while the other 4 would return to the visitor center to summon help. The first search team, composed of 4 park rangers, arrived at the scene at 1:40 p.m. The search area was gradually expanded, and by nightfall, more than 25 people, including firefighters, police, and local volunteers, were combing a 3-kilometer radius from where Mariana was last seen. What puzzled investigators from the outset was the complete absence of clues. No belongings, no footprints beyond the initial perimeter, no signs of a struggle. The dense vegetation and rocky terrain hampered the search, and even sniffer dogs failed to pick up a clear trail. Rosana Santos, Mariana's mother, arrived in Bonito the following day. "My daughter was extremely methodical and prepared," she declared at a press conference, her eyes filled with tears, her voice trembling with a burgeoning despair. She studied maps of this region for weeks before traveling. She was not the type of person to get lost easily. The intensive search continued for 21 consecutive days, involving over 70 people at its peak. On July 25th, the civil police of Mato Grosso do Sul opened an official inquiry led by Delegate Ricardo Almeida, who established 3 initial lines of investigation: an accident in a remote area, an attack by a wild animal, or a crete. The accident hypothesis initially seemed most plausible. The Bonito region is riddled with caves, sinkholes, and karstic formations that can be natural traps for unwary hikers. Caving specialists were brought in and explored 17 cavities near the disappearance site, but found nothing. "The terrain here is treacherous," explained geologist Paulo Cerqueira, a member of the search team. "There are crevices 10 to 30 meters deep, some partially hidden by vegetation. A person could easily fall into one and be missed by a surface search. The theory of a wild animal attack was considered but quickly lost ground. According to experts from Brazil's environmental agency, predators like jaguars rarely attack humans in the region. Even if one had, it would have left significant traces such as tracks or drag marks. The third line of inquiry, the possibility of a crime, gained traction after the guide Carlos Mendonça gave a contradictory statement. He first claimed that Mariana had asked for permission to wander off. 3 days later, in a new deposition, he stated that he had emphatically discouraged her, even warning her of the risks. The discrepancy raised suspicion, especially since, as a certified guide, Carlos could face charges of negligence. A breakthrough came in August 1994 when a local farmer found Mariana's bag. It was located approximately 1.8 kilometers from where she was last seen, but in the opposite direction of the rock formation she had intended to photograph. The bag contained her wallet with documents and intact cash, and a notebook. Her camera and cell phone were missing. This discovery further complicated the case, Delegate Almeida explained. If she went towards the rock formation as witnesses said, how did her bag end up in the opposite direction? And why were only some of her belongings missing? Mariana's family hired private investigator Claudio Ferreira, a former federal police officer with experience in missing persons cases. Ferreira re-interviewed every member of the tour group and the staff at Mariana's inn. A significant detail emerged. 2 days before her disappearance, Mariana had told the inn's receptionist that she believed she had discovered an uncatalogued cave, potentially valuable for her research. According to the employee, Mariana was exceptionally excited but did not reveal its exact location. She was euphoric, reported Lucia Gonçalves, the receptionist. She spoke of unique crystal formations she had spotted from a distance, but said she needed to confirm it herself before sharing the information with environmental authorities. This new information launched a new phase of the investigation, focusing on potential entrances to unmapped caves. Volunteer cavers from all over Brazil joined the effort. In parallel, the police investigated the backgrounds of local guides. It was discovered that Carlos Mendonça had a police record for land-related conflicts and an assault charge from 1990, which had been dismissed for lack of evidence. While this didn't directly link him to Mariana's case, it intensified the scrutiny upon him. The investigation suffered a major setback in October 1994, when the region's heavy spring rains made searching nearly impossible, drastically altering the terrain and washing away any potential evidence. By the end of the year, with limited resources and the trail growing cold, the investigation began to lose momentum. The case gradually moved into the cold case files of the Mato Grosso do Sul Civil Police. Between 1995 and 2000, the case remained in a state of investigative limbo. Mariana's mother, Relentless, made periodic trips to Bonito, distributing flyers and speaking with locals, hoping someone might remember a previously undisclosed detail. Then in March 2001, a new clue surfaced. A German tourist exploring a remote area about 8 kilometers from the original trail found a camera partially deteriorated by the elements. Though severely damaged, federal police technicians managed to partially recover the film. Of the 36 exposures, only 7 were salvageable. 6 showed generic landscapes of the Bonito region, but the 7th, the last photograph taken, revealed the entrance to an uncatalogued cave marked by a peculiar formation resembling a human face carved in the rock. Mariana's family confirmed the camera was the same model she used. This photograph reignited our hope of finding answers, Rosana Santos stated. My daughter was following a concrete lead. She wasn't just wandering aimlessly in the woods as some had suggested. The new evidence mobilized a specialized federal police team. Using 3D mapping technology, they worked with speleologists to pinpoint the cave's location. After 3 months of systematic searching, they found it, a hard-to-reach cave on private property, approximately 6.5 kilometers from the official trail. It would have been nearly impossible for Mariana to have walked that distance in the short time before the search began, raising the chilling possibility that she had been taken there. The cave, dubbed the Grotto of Silence by investigators, was meticulously explored in August 2002. No human remains or additional belongings were found, but markings on the rock indicated periodic human visitation, with inscriptions dating back at least 15 years. The case took another turn in 2003 when police discovered the land was the subject of a dispute between local farmers and a mining company that suspected the presence of high-value quartz crystals. The investigation revealed that unauthorized expeditions, often led by local guides working for clandestine mineral prospectors, were common in the area. Carlos Mendonça was interrogated again. He denied any knowledge of illegal mining activities. However, recovered phone records showed frequent contact between him and executives of the mining company in the months leading up to Mariana's disappearance. "We were looking at a possible motive," explained federal delegate Antonio Barros, who took over the case in 2003. If Mariana discovered evidence of illegal exploration during her research, she could have posed a threat to a lucrative operation. The definitive twist in the case came on April 15, 2005, nearly 11 years after the disappearance. Jorge Santana, a tour guide who had worked in Bonito since 1992, contacted the federal police. He had just survived a near-fatal car accident and, from his hospital bed, decided to clear his conscience. According to Jorge's shocking testimony, he was not directly involved, but he knew details that had never been shared. He claimed Carlos Mendonça was part of a network of guides who fed privileged information to the Cristal Sul mining company. "Mariana didn't get lost by accident," Jorge stated in his official deposition, recorded on video due to the gravity of his condition. "She was photographing and documenting evidence of illegal crystal extraction in a preservation area. Carlos realized what she was doing and alerted his contacts." According to Jorge, on the day of the disappearance, Carlos deliberately suggested Mariana explore the rock formation, knowing it was near an access point to the illegal mining sites. When she walked away, he alerted 2 men working for the mining company who patrolled the trails. "What was supposed to be a simple intimidation to confiscate her camera and notes spun out of control," Jorge continued. "They told me later that she fought back and threatened to report the operation. There was a struggle. She fell and hit her head on a rock." Jorge's testimony included precise details about where Mariana's body had been hidden. A natural cave, partially sealed with controlled explosives after the incident, located about 12 kilometers from the official trail in an area of extremely difficult access. Based on this information, a joint operation was mobilized. After 5 grueling days of searching, on April 23, 2005, the team located the cave entrance described by Jorge, partially collapsed and skillfully camouflaged by years of vegetation growth. Using geological scanning equipment, the team finally gained access to the cave's interior on April 26th. There, on the 3rd level, approximately 40 meters from the entrance, they found human remains, along with fabric fragments consistent with the clothes Mariana was wearing the day she vanished. Subsequent DNA analysis confirmed the identity of the remains, a revelation that sent shockwaves across the nation. Carlos Mendonça, who had left Bonito in 2001 and was living under a false identity in the interior of Goiás, was located and arrested on April 30, 2005. During his interrogation, he initially denied all accusations, but when confronted with the physical evidence and Jorge's detailed testimony, he finally offered a partial confession. According to Carlos, he had indeed alerted the mining company's security guards to Mariana's presence, but claimed he did not directly participate in her death, which he described as an accident that occurred during the confrontation. He identified the two men directly involved, Renato Silva and Marcos Oliveira, both former military police officers hired as private security by the Cristal Sul Mining Company. The legal battle that followed the 2005 revelations would unfold over nearly 3 years. In August of that year, the Federal Public Prosecutor's Office formally charged Carlos Mendonça, Renato Silva, Marcos Oliveira, and 3 executives from the Cristal Sul Mining Company with aggravated murder, concealment of a body, criminal conspiracy, and environmental crimes. The investigations uncovered a complex illegal mining scheme that had been operating in the region for over 15 years, involving local authorities, landowners, and mining entrepreneurs. Mariana's death was merely the tip of the iceberg of an operation that had caused irreparable environmental damage to conservation areas and generated profits, estimated at over 50 million reais. The Mariana Santos case revealed a crime not just against one person, but against Brazil's entire natural heritage, stated federal prosecutor Débora Cavalcante, who led the prosecution. The greed for mineral resources led to a brutal homicide and the systematic destruction of unique caves and geological formations. The trial of Carlos Mendonça, which began in March 2006, captured national attention. After 8 days of testimony and the presentation of evidence, he was sentenced to 22 years in prison for aggravated murder and concealment of a body. Renato Silva, captured in 2006 on the border with Paraguay, received a similar sentence. Marcos Oliveira was never found and is considered a fugitive to this day, his name on Interpol's red list. The executives of the Cristal Sul Mining Company received sentences ranging from 15 to 18 years for their role in the murder, in addition to record-breaking fines for environmental crimes. The company had its license revoked and its assets frozen to pay for damages. For Mariana's family, the outcome brought a mixture of relief and renewed pain. After so many years, we could finally give our daughter a dignified burial, said Rosana Santos in an interview after the funeral, held in Sao Paulo in June 2005. But the pain of knowing how she suffered and why, that will never leave us. The case led to significant changes in Brazilian environmental legislation and security protocols in conservation areas. The Mariana Santos Law, passed by the National Congress in 2007, increased penalties for environmental crimes associated with illegal mining and established stricter protocols for granting exploration licenses in areas near national parks and reserves. In Bonito, the impact was profound and lasting. The city, already establishing itself as an ecotourism destination, implemented one of the most rigorous guide certification systems in the country. All trails were equipped with tracking and emergency communication systems, and visitor groups are now required to be accompanied by 2 certified guides. The Blue Grotto, the scene where the tragedy began, was renamed the Mariana Santos Trail in 2008. A memorial plaque at the trailhead briefly tells her story and serves as a reminder of the importance of environmental conservation. Mariana's legacy extended beyond legal and structural changes. Her incomplete dissertation, recovered from her personal computer, was posthumously completed by colleagues from the University of Sao Paulo and published as a book in 2010, becoming a key reference in studies on sustainable ecotourism in Brazil. By 2015, 21 years after her disappearance, the Mariana Santos Foundation, created by her parents, had already helped locate more than 300 missing people across Brazil. and promoted the creation of integrated databases among state police forces. Jorge Santana, the guide whose delayed revelation finally solved the case, never fully recovered from the accident that led him to confess what he knew. He passed away in 2009 due to complications from his injuries. But in his final years, he dedicated himself to working with young guides, teaching them not only trail guiding techniques but also the ethical principles of environmental protection. For the investigators who dedicated years of their lives to the case, the resolution brought conflicting emotions. There is no real victory when a life has been taken so brutally, reflected Chief Investigator Antonio Barros in his retirement speech in 2012. But there is a certain comfort in knowing that the truth, however terrible, has finally come to light. If you've watched this far, it's because you care about these cases that scar families forever. Leave a comment saying, "I watched until the end," so I can get to know you and see who truly cares about the search for truth. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video so that more people can learn the story of Mariana Santos and understand the importance of never giving up the search for answers for those who have disappeared.